Hey, Warren Eckstein here. Today we're going to take a look at what happens when you have two dogs living in the same house that just don't get along with each other. It's a big problem. Many of my listeners are multi-dog households, so it's important that when you have two dogs or three dogs or a dozen dogs living in the same house, that they generally get along with each other. This letter came to me from Tony. Hey, Warren, I have two Yorkie females, one 3 pounds, the other 6 pounds. The 6-pound Molly hates Maddie. When I say hate, she hates her and tries to choke her out, damage her eye. I keep them separated. Anything I can do. You know, whenever you have more than one animal living in one environment, very often there's going to be some challenges. There's going to be a little envy. There's going to be a little territory, dominant behavior. So how do you handle this? Listen, I've had as many as 30 dogs at one time. Were they all bosom buddies? Absolutely not. But they all got along with each other, at least to the point with acceptance. So what are we going to do with Molly and Maddie? I wish I had more time, and I wish Tony had called me on the show. There's a lot of questions I have. For example, does she walk Maddie and Molly? Or are they let in the backyard? Is that the only place they go? How much time Molly and Maddie get to spend outside of their environment around other distractions and people? So here's the bottom line. Whenever you have two dogs that are showing aggression or assertiveness towards each other, take a look at their environment. Are they spending 24/7 in the same house? Now, Tony says she's separating the dogs. Separation can cause more animosity and actually make more aggression occur. So what's the best way to resolve this? And number one is making sure that you keep both dogs as mentally stimulated as you possibly can. When they're small dogs, they're Yorkies. If you told me, I don't know where the dog's trained. Just because they're little doesn't mean they don't need to be trained. For example, when they're showing aggression, do you have any way to control them with the basic training you might have done early on? Number two, and the most important thing that you can do is remember this. When two dogs live in the same environment, they're constantly living with the same thing every single day. We're fed at the same time. We watch Seinfeld at the same time of day. Mom lets us out in the backyard to poop and pee at the same time of day. You know, there's going to be a lot of pent-up frustration, pent-up anxiety, pent-up envy there. So what are we going to do to get Molly and Maddie to get along? What we need to do is get them with each other, but we're not focusing on each other. How are we going to do that? Neutral territory. The same approach if you're introducing a new dog to a dog that already lives in an environment. You always want to try to introduce them on neutral territory to avoid any possessiveness or territorial protectiveness on the dog's part. So what I would be doing, if you were to hire me, by the way, I'm not available. If you were to hire me to work with your dog, I would be recommending, if possible, if there's more than one member of the family, you take Maddie and Molly for walks to different locations every day. Why? This way, when they're together, they're not focused on each other. They're focused on the smell of a skunk, a squirrel, another dog, a bird flying overhead, a skateboarder going by. The less time they focus on each other, the more apt they are to start accepting each other, not being best friends right away, but accepting each other. The important thing is, when you have two dogs that are being assertive like this or aggressive, training is really critical. What training does is it builds up the dog's confidence, gives you a way to communicate with the dog in a positive way. For example, right now, when Molly is going after Maddie, I'm sure that Tony, no, knock it off, you drat. And it's just going to get things worse and worse and worse. That's where the basic training comes. Make sure you spend as much time as you can on neutral territory. I want you to also work with them in terms of their basic training to build up their confidence. I want you to start making sure that when you give the dogs toys, you always give them a couple, 3, 4 at a time, not just 1 or 2. Make your backyard interesting. If you were to look at my backyard, you'd think I had 20 kids, and I have none. There's a little kiddie pool filled with sand for the dogs to play in. There's a tetherball hanging. I hide their toys in their backyard, always differently. This way, there's always something in the yard for them to look for rather than focus on each other. If there's nothing else in life but the focus on each other, there's going to be that built-up animosity and aggressive behavior. So, good luck to you, Tony. Call me on the show. We can go further and further, but right now I want you to understand, it's not like we're dealing with Cujo here. We're dealing with two dogs living in the same environment 24/7. Any two living things in the same environment 24/7 are going to get angry. Now, your anger, or the anger on their part, seems a little tougher because one of the dogs is actually pinning the other dog down. Can be resolved. I don't want you to ever think this can't be resolved. You may want to hire a professional trainer or behaviorist. Stay away from any trainer or behaviorist that's going to use aversive type of training. Make sure it's positive. Make sure they understand the concept of what I just told you. Neutral territory, building up the dog's confidence, working with them when they're not focused on each other, all that'll make a difference. Now, I can't promise that you come home one day and they'll be sleeping whisker to whisker, but I can promise if you're consistent and follow my advice that you will come home and they'll be at least maybe watching the same TV show, sleeping in the same bed. Good luck to you, Tony. Call me on the show. We'll go a little bit further. And I'm sure one day Molly and Maddie will become best friends. Good luck to you. Give them a hug and a kiss for me.